screens, it's a plot to drop the IQ. Fighting amongst each other over rumors that don't like you. Prefer us trapped in melancholy with the wood ones, the holly suggestions that obliterate to camouflage the folly. Attempted mental robbery, executed sloppily. The hypocrisy, this mockery, and walk the talk with me. Put the hands up to touch the Akasha, cause you know deep down there's something bigger than your wallet.
Sweet eternal balance of all that is good, true, and beautiful, friends. Welcome back to Rogue Soul. Tonight, we're talking new moon, gratitude, and grace. Tomorrow is the new moon if you're listening to this as it airs or shortly thereafter. Otherwise, it's November 20th, 2025. And this new moon has once again provided this opportunity. I've been called to offer another upliftment, deep hypnotic meditation, healing session, and blessing. And so I'm very excited to do that. But I'm also excited to share with you the general astrology of the time, as usual. I like to check in on it. It's funny, a lot of times I'll just like glaze right through it for myself, right? I'm like not even paying attention. But as soon as it feels a little bit heavy, a little bit distracting, a little bit like everyone's kind of pervaded with some sort of weird or disruptive energy, then I'm like, well, what's going on astrologically? And it turns out there's usually a good reason. So throughout my life, I found astrology is interestingly accurate and very specific to the moment. So I find that fascinating, very interesting. I love to share all that with you. As usual, we're going to look at the tropical, the sort of traditional astrology that everyone's more used to. And then we're going to also look at the true sidereal astrology of this moment and check in with some of that and think about how it reflects on our greater world. So another astrology episode here for you, as usual, from your very much not an astrologer, spiritual person. And that's how we do it at Rogue Soul. And so let's just get right in there. This is, of course, the site, roguesoul.org. If you go to roguesoul.org, it's a perfect place to get all of my books, all of my services, and everything is here for you. You can receive healing, become a healer, check out the classes, the powerful orgone that I offer, read the testimonials. You can connect with me, send me a message. You can also scroll to even on the front page and any page on the site, and you can sign up for the email list. And so you get just notified, honestly, maybe 12 times a year about various things going on with me, usually these events, these blessings, or other similar opportunities. And that's all here on the site. If you've never read the books, you are missing out. The channeled source messages, the key of transformational healing, all endings are beginnings, and also the channeled trilogy of fictional. I say fictional, but to me, it's all very, very real. And this is the Earth, the Trough in Time, Sine Curve of Aeons, and Trinity's Genesis, a Future Once Removed. This trilogy is fantastic. If you've read it, you already know. If you haven't and you enjoy fiction, it's a great Christmas present. It's the holiday season, is the time for giving. So check that out. If you're also looking for great gifts this season, go to the shop, check out those orgone lotus votives and pillars. You can also get a custom if you have very specific colors or intentions or energies in mind. That's all available here as well. So that's at roguesoul.org. I also have rogueways.substack.com. This is my Substack. This is where I write about the things that fascinate and interest me. This is where I also make announcements about any opportunities coming up, classes or blessings and the like. It's also where I share channeled messages from the spiritual ancestors. And so if you're a paid subscriber, you get those as well. No matter whether you're paid or not, you get a snapshot of those channeled messages. But if you like to support the show and get those channeled messages, it is a great way to become a paid supporter here at rogueways.substack.com. I appreciate all of you who are subscribed, paid or free, and please come subscribe right now if you're not already. And so I did just recently write this post that gratitude changes lives. And I said, come find out. The miracle of gratitude combines with the miracle of grace in order to transform even the darkest karmic blockages and traumatic energies. Let it in. And this is very specifically about this new moon. we've got coming up here, and the energy coming with it is gonna lift up some, scabs, some old, bandaged areas that got kind of left and maybe were festering for a while, and so might be a little bit of darkness, might be a bit rough, and so we have this energy coming in through this blessing I'm offering tomorrow through the spiritual ancestors to bring us some of that grace that helps us get through those times when we have or are confronting our darkness, our trauma, the places that are a little bit rough. And, gratitude is one of those energies that just softens the way through those things. Gratitude and love, I would say, are like, the highest forms of what we can engender within ourselves in order to promote a more positive outlook, experience, and future for ourselves, and just kind of ramp up any of that healing and transformation that we are going through, which we're kind of always going through, right? And so gratitude and grace are coming through in this blessing. Some of the highest hitters, heaviest hitters that I know of. And so feeling the effects already. I talk about this sometimes, how whenever I have an event or a big blessing coming up, I go through my own purification as well. And so if you've worked with me before, we've definitely talked about it, because if you've worked with me for long enough, you go through your purifications too, right? That's what we're all here doing on this spiritual path. And so I've got some of my own darkness and gunk that comes up so that I can purify and transform of some of that, so that I can show up to these events and these blessings even more pure, even more attuned for what's going to come through for you all. So it's been a little rough today, a little rough yesterday. It's okay though. I understand it now, and it's perfect, right? Because that's what healing is. So I just said this month of November, we often pause to give thanks on a special day of Thanksgiving. I like to try to give thanks every day, as rising to the day filled with gratitude in our hearts and minds creates a much different kind of day, often filled with much better outcomes. Join me on November 20th to go deeper into the gnosis of gratitude and grace. And so I have a link there to the new moon blessing. If you're on my Substack right now, you could just click over and check that out right away. rogueways.substack.com is the first post you will see there if you're listening to this right now. And I just then list some of the things I'm grateful for. And I think it's worth sharing some of these, especially if you're going through your purifications or you're just getting ready to encounter this new moon energy tomorrow. We're already in the nimbus of it, so to speak. So we're on the fringes already. And so you may have already been feeling it. So you can join me if you want and repeat some of these, or just hear them and let them kind of flow into you and resonate with them. And feel that gratitude that you have as well. I say I'm grateful for the life I'm able to live each day I wake. I'm grateful for the breath that moves through my body, enlivening me with life force energy. I am grateful for every cell of my body choosing to live in harmony with my highest, thriving in every moment. I am grateful for the blood that renews my cells in every minute of every day, constantly full of cosmic fire. I am grateful for the organs that do their best and achieve high harmony and wellness, even amidst the sea of modern carnage and destruction we live within. I am grateful for my heart's beating and the vortex of energy that is always connected to the highest love available to us all. I am grateful for my voice that may bring wisdom and truth into the world, help me ask for and receive what I need, and help others receive what they need as well. I am grateful for my mind, which is constantly seeking new information to replace old ideas and beliefs, while also recognizing and holding timeless wisdom. I am grateful for my soul, which has always guided me, even through the darkest hells and travails humanity can experience. I am grateful for my guides and allies in the unseen who have never given up on me, who have found ways to signal to me even in the nightmares of life, and have always helped me to return to the light. I am grateful for the light of God and truth that is ever present, a substrate of all time and space, and which anchors us in the eternal so that we may return there when we are done here. I am grateful for you who read this and resonate the love that is inherent in these words. I am grateful for the earth, the cosmos, and this universe of material reality that allows us all to grow and develop. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Love you, love you, love you. That's my list of gratitude. If you were going to use that every day you awoke, you would be starting the day with such goodness. And what I love about this is it can be like a mantra. Any one of these could be like a mantra that you take for yourself and repeat, say out loud, speak to yourself in the mirror in the morning or however you like to do it. But you could also use all of them in the way they're presented here. And right when you wake up, just go into reading and seeing and feeling that, print it out, put it on your wall, put it on your bedside table, and make that part of your day. This is a free gift here. This is one of those posts that's available to everybody. So if you're on the Substack, you maybe even already read it. But what a powerful list of things to be grateful for. And sometimes we can struggle like, well, what am I grateful for? Everything seems to be going wrong, right? Like the world and the politics, society, and my health, or this or that, and my car just broke down, and like I'm not grateful for anything. But everything in here, if you noticed, is something that everybody has. And even if some of it doesn't feel true, like sometimes if my health is a little bit some of those ones where it's like, oh, all my organs are, doing well. And I'm like, I don't really believe that very much right now. And that's okay, right? Some of these you might read and be like, I don't know if that's true for me right now. And that's okay. This is something that we do a lot of work in, whether you're doing it with a counselor, psychologist, a spiritual healer like myself, or just on your own, as we are replacing old, worn out, untrue beliefs in our subconscious with these new, true beliefs and understandings. And sometimes it takes some repetition of a thing that doesn't quite seem true to us for it to become something that does seem true to us. So we really can reprogram ourselves in that way. And so even if you're repeating some of these and they don't ring super true to you, I'd encourage you to keep doing it unless you have some sort of base disagreement with it. And then feel free to leave it behind. But anyways, I then invite you all at the end of this post to join me in that blessing tomorrow, knowing that gratitude and grace transform all aspects of self, especially negative karma, trauma clusters of stuck energy, and gives us this sort of lift up to transcend our current limitations and step into our highest potential. So tomorrow's going to be big energies, big blessing. And so you can get to my Substack, click on that first post, and click over to the new moon blessing and register for it right now. Or I'll show you again later in the show how to get to a few other ways. So that's the most recent post about tomorrow's new moon. Let's check in, as I like to do, with Athen Chimenti and his true sidereal astrological take on this week's energy, with the new moon being the sort of highlight. And of course, as you may know or remember, true sidereal is a little bit different from the traditional. So, in the astrology everyone kind of grew up with and everyone knows and you see in the papers and most people are talking about, is tropical astrology. I'm a Sagittarius, but in true sidereal, I'm actually in a Fucus. And so you might find that the sky is a little bit different in reality than it is presented to you in your astral chart, your natal chart, or your sun sign, if you've known it in your life. And if you check in with true sidereal, it might be a bit different, and you might find that it actually represents you better, which is what I've found. So worth checking out. Of course, I always like to point out that if you go to masteringthezodiac.com, you can get a free true sidereal chart. So you could compare it. If you have your other one, you could at least just get it so you can see what your sun sign is, your regular main sign, right? You could do all of that for free. And I also, on the site, roguesoul.org, if you go to favorite things, there's a discount for you waiting if you want to get your chart read and interpreted by Athen, get a reading done of your true sidereal energies. So definitely use that link on roguesoul.org under the favorite things tab if you are going to do that. Highly recommend it. I loved mine. It was so worth it. And so do check that out. But he has this Mastering the Zodiac. It's called the Insiders newsletter, and you can get this for free as well while you're there at masteringthezodiac.com. You can sign up for it so that you get these each week too. It's just nice to get a little rundown of what's coming. So I really like that. If you follow him on Instagram, Mastering the Zodiac, you can also get the video version of the sort of rundown, and he's got his YouTube and all of that. So lots of resources that he provides for free for people who want to look deeper into the true sidereal. But let's look at what he says about this week and the new moon. New moon in Libra, Wednesday and Thursday, November 19th and 20th. So it's early in the morning tomorrow. And so we're going to celebrate it, of course, and tap into some of those energies tomorrow evening. But that is tomorrow. He says the new moon arrives between Wednesday and Thursday, settling into Libra, just as Mercury retraces its steps back into the same sign. Now, you might already be like, wait, I thought it was a new moon in Scorpio. Well, it is in tropical, but in true sidereal, it's in Libra. So we'll check that out. He says this convergence creates a moment where communication and intention align, where what we've been reconsidering over the past few weeks can finally take shape as something new. Mercury has been moving backward through Scorpio. So this Mercury retrograde, he's pointing out, has been going through Scorpio. And I think that's some of the rawness. I think that's some of the, I think that's some of that darker, not Scorpio is always dark, but Mercury retrograde's often hard. Our communications, travel, and all this can get a little bit dicey. For me, it's been electronics, and everything that I've had scheduled has had to shift. So that makes sense, right? But it can also be a little bit deeper, a little bit, some of that raw emotion can come up. Some of our old bad habits can be triggered by some of these, missteps and miscalculations. And so that Scorpio energy is still with us. So, you'll just notice that even though this new moon is in Libra, in true sidereal, we still got that Scorpio energy. So we're still going to see the resonance and the similarity, even though there's a difference here. So yeah, he moves on to say Mercury has been moving backward through Scorpio, asking us to revisit conversations, reconsider decisions, and look beneath the surface of what we thought we understood. And this is really the energy that I've been tapped into and that I've seen people need some support with. And that is why I've been called to offer this blessing tomorrow, is some of this. When we are looking back and we're seeing some of those wounds, some of those things that didn't quite sit well with us, some of those things are maybe we have been meaning to do better, but we're not quite there yet because it's usually of some karma and some trauma that's sitting in there, right? So we're going back through some of this and looking beneath the surface there with these astrological energies. We're just going to have some of that raw and dark stuff. And sometimes it's a little bit darker than just the light chocolate version, right? So it can be a bit rough. And so that's some of what I've heard and seen from my guidance. And that's why this blessing is in perfect timing. He says, as it slides back into Libra early in the week, it brings those deeper insights back into the realm of relationship, balance, and choice. So all those things we're just highlighting that would be the solution for some of that darkness is going to come up in our relationships. It's going to come up in bringing balance, and it's going to come up because we bring our free will and our choice to the forefront. We say, here's how I want to do this, right? Here's how I want to do better. Here's how I want to heal this. Here's how I want to change this old pattern. So you might be seeing some of that come up for you. And this blessing tomorrow is really meant to support that. That's what that grace and that gratitude, like I said, they just can come in and smooth things, especially where they're rough or raw or old or wounded or karmatic, right? Traumatic. And so that's going to be really nice. Very good salve right at the right time. He goes on to say, by the time the new moon arrives, Mercury and the sun meet in Libra, creating a potent conjunction that lights up what needs to be said, written, or decided. And here's where that grace and gratitude is going to help us, is as we see very clearly what needs to be said, written, or decided, especially if it takes some, humility, if it takes some self-accountability, if it takes some vulnerability, you're really going to have some support with that. And that's what I think is so beautiful about this blessing tomorrow. He says this is not simply about starting fresh. It's about integrating what you've learned during Mercury's backtrack and allowing that understanding to inform your next steps. The themes of fairness, partnership, and alignment become focal points. You might find yourself ready to have a conversation you've been rehearsing internally, or you may recognize that a decision you've been wrestling with suddenly feels clearer. So I've actually been hearing this from a lot of people I've been working with this week, is this exact thing. Like there's something that's been there for a while and it's been a bit repressed or a bit difficult or a bit just too much to bring up into the forefront and definitely too much to share with others. Or if it was shared with others, it was like done in the wrong way and it was disastrous. We need to try again. A lot of that sort of energy has been sort of festering. And so again, that darker stuff, that under the skin stuff, that's coming up. You may have felt like you've been wrestling with some things. You may have felt like you've been right on the verge of transforming some of this. And this is what is being supported in this blessing and in this new moon moment, whether you come to the blessing or not. Blessing just gives you a big boost through all that. What makes this new moon particularly interesting, he says, is the kite formation active in the sky. A kite is a pattern where 4 planets create a grand trine with one point extending into opposition, forming a shape that resembles its namesake, the kite. This configuration creates flow and ease among 3 points, while the 4th provides tension that gives direction to all that energy. The Sun and Mercury are activating this pattern, which means their conjunction doesn't just sit quietly in Libra. It reaches out, connects with the other planets, and creates pathways for action. So the Sun is like lighting it up. Mercury is here and ready. The communication's ready to go. We've just got to bring ourselves through some of that muck, up through that, and make that choice to finally confront, finally do the thing, finally say the stuff, or finally just know in ourselves that this is what we're ready to be from now on in our relationships, right? A new level of clarity or honesty. And oof, that feels like such a relief once we do that. So again, that blessing tomorrow is really going to support that movement. Venus, he says, also moves into Libra around Monday, adding another layer to the story. Venus rules Libra. So its presence here strengthens the themes of value, relationship, and what brings beauty or harmony into your life. With Venus in its home sign, while the Sun and Mercury meet, there's a harmonious backdrop that supports conversations about what matters most. You might notice that what you value becomes easier to articulate, or that discussions about relationship feel more graceful. It's no accident here. It's funny, he and I don't collaborate, and I did not read this before I was told that the blessing tomorrow would be about gratitude and grace. But here he is talking about that gracefulness, and grace is this really interesting concept to me. I've channeled a lot about it because you can say so many things you want about grace, but like, what is it actually? And Spiritual Ancestors channeled through some time ago. If you are a paid subscriber, you already saw it long ago, but they talked about that grace is actually a law. There's a law of grace, and that grace comes through for those who may have made karmic and maybe even caused trauma in their mistakes, but that their heart was so pure, their intention so good, or their the depth of their remorse or apology is so deep that grace comes through to sort of relieve some of that, of what otherwise would have become really negative downward spiral, right? Grace comes through, say, okay, cool, let's try this again, right? It's almost like the reset button. And I just found that so fascinating, right? That there is this support here for people who are of the deepest intention and authenticity in some of that remorse, especially over our mistakes. So, that this grace is going to come up to meet us as we move through some of this darkness. I really love that. And I love that I get to help people connect with that tomorrow in this blessing. I hope you join us there to get some. So he finishes off, he says, consider what has come up for review in your relationships, your creative projects, or your sense of balance. What conversations have you been having internally that might need to be voiced? What decisions have you been circling that might benefit from clarity this alignment offers? The kite formation suggests that when you move with intention here, the energy flows. There's support available if you're willing to reach for it. Especially true in the blessing. That's exactly what it's about, is you ask for and you reach for it, and then all of this comes through to support you. It says this new moon asks you to hold both receptivity and direction. Listen, but also speak. Reflect, but also choose. Really, really perfect. So, of course, his newsletter goes on to talk about some of the other astrological moments of this week that affect us. And so always check those out, be a subscriber. And like I said, go get your reading and use the link on Rogue Soul under the favorite things tab so that you get your discount. I think you also use the coupon code Rogue Ways, perhaps. So try that out too. All right. So I also found this. It's a kind of reinforces. This is actually the more traditional astrology take, that tropical astrology take, but it's just always interesting for me how the themes really resonate together, even though they are different astrological takes. So this is called the Alchemy of Darkness. And it says tomorrow, the new moon in Scorpio, the Mercury Sun Moon alignment, and the harmonic aspects of Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, and Saturn. It says on this new moon under the veil of Scorpio, we enter a sacred pause. The sun, moon, and Mercury align in the depths of Scorpio, a sign of transformation, truth, and emotional alchemy. So again, all of these highlights, is definitely what we've been talking about here with that darkness coming up, being transmuted into the light, that transformation, some of that rawness. It's all here. It says this is not a visual alignment, but a symbolic one, a convergence of light, shadow, and voice. Mercury retrograde invites us to rewrite the stories we tell ourselves. Scorpio's new moon offers a portal to shed old skins and reclaim buried power. And Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, and Saturn form harmonic aspects, subtle chords of cosmic support for deep healing, visionary insight, and karmic release. So again, I'm not surprised when I get guided to do some of these blessings, what the energies are doing with the collective and how well these blessings align with that. Again, I'm generally diving deeper into this and learning more about it as I'm doing this show. So, I'm not surprised, but I'm also always kind of pleasantly surprised at how well what the blessing it was I was told it was for is, and how well that resonates with what's actually going on. So I always think that's really cool. It says this is a moment to bless the darkness, not to banish it, but to transmute it. To speak truth into silence, to align our inner planets, mind, heart, and soul with the source field of oneness. It says from shadow to radiance. This moment is encapsulated by the energies of reclamation and bringing light into the dark. And they have almost like a little poem here. It says, may all that is hidden be held in love. May all that is heavy be lifted by grace. Look at that. There's the grace again. I couldn't make it up if I tried. May all that is heavy be lifted by grace. May the wounds we carry become wells of wisdom. And may this new moon seed a new light, one born not of avoidance, but of sacred transformation. So it really is. We're coming to confront some things in ourselves, like I've said, that are a little bit darker, a little bit harder, that require some humility, some vulnerability. We're bringing that up into the light, but it's also that we get to then share it in our relationships, share it in our connections, and we get to see that transformation that then occurs and how much goodness we get from it. Very exciting. They just say tomorrow is this powerful day of the new moon, marking a major energetic reset. Scorpio governs transformation, emotional depth, and spiritual rebirth, perfect for transmuting shadow into light. We've also got the sun, moon, and Mercury. So I think Kementi was talking about that too. It says all three are conjunct in Scorpio, amplifying the themes of clarity through introspection, emotional renewal, and illumination of truth. The outer planets are also in some harmony. Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, and Saturn, as it had said earlier, form supportive aspects that are active on this day. These aren't visual alignments, but they create a subtle cosmic resonance, ideal for invoking deep healing, visionary insight, and karmic release. So that was a fun find there, and especially how well it sort of amplifies what we're already in tune with here. I just have one more that had a few cool looking things in it. And we'll see if we can get a little bit more out of this. This is Astrology by Lauren, the new moon in Scorpio 2025. It says profundity. So she wrote this on November 13th, but this is about the 14th through the 21st. So this time period, and the new moon itself again being tomorrow. And we're sort of in that cusp on either side of it. And so she has this quote here. It says, I've never tried to block out the memories of the past, even though some are painful. I don't understand people who hide from the past. Everything you live through helps to make you the person you are now. Sophia Loren. So she makes perfume or something. I don't know. But yeah, it's really true. It is. And it fits perfectly with the themes we're talking about with this new moon. That we're not hiding anymore. Whatever it was that's been a little bit rougher, a little bit buried, a little bit less spoken, a little bit less shared in the light of day. We're bringing that up. We're bringing that up for renewal and reclamation here, and we're going to transmute. So she's talking about some larger yearly aspects. So I'll start here. She says, with the sun, moon, and Mercury all in opposition to Uranus, what we are being shown this week, albeit shocking and maybe even alarming, could also be incredibly enlightening. So that's exactly it's so interesting to me how well this all lines up. But just that, yeah, can be a little shocking and be a little like, ugh, I don't really want to look there. I don't really want to look under the band-aid, right? Like what's going on under there? But when we do, we're so empowered. We have so much more light. We have so much more energy in our life for transformation and growth and renewal. It says be ready for a few twists and turns with this new moon. Uranus weather is often quick. We'll need to be vigilant in order to register what we're seeing, hearing, and being made aware of. At the new moon, the Sun, Moon, and Mercury will also be closely trine Neptune in Pisces, she says, trine Saturn also in Pisces, and trine Jupiter in Cancer. So this is some of that outer planet resonance we were just reading in that previous take. She says, while opposing Uranus. Astrologers call this a kite formation. So this is what Athen Comenti was mentioning as well, which the potential implied by the grand trine is further activated and potentiated by the planet Uranus. Uranus not only opposes the new moon and Mercury, but forms an exact sextile to Neptune on Thursday, hours after the new moon. So that's right actually when we're going to be doing the blessing. And Uranus and Neptune are some pretty interesting energies out there. They're those like deep, mystical, often beyond words sort of energies. And it's so funny this week how many people I've been hearing say things like people and things are just weird right now. Like they're just weird. Like they're not bad, they're not horrible, they're a little bit uncomfortable, they're just weird. Like it is pretty weird. And I think that's actually a neat description of those planets. So maybe that's what's going on. Uranus, it says, which has now returned to Taurus, can indeed be illuminating, sometimes shockingly so. Secrets are revealed. Pennies are made irrelevant. Yeah, do you remember that just happened the other day? I was talking about that, the last winning report. Talking about how I was just getting my Sam's cash, my cash back for my credit card, and it's always some kind of, change, like 27 cents. In this case, it was 22 cents. And she said, oh, I'm just going to give you a quarter because we don't have pennies anymore. And I was like, well, you just don't have them. She's like, oh no, they turned to stop making them today. It's like, wow, that was quick. So they stopped making them today and you guys already are not using them. So really interesting there. Yeah, but yeah, pennies become irrelevant suddenly. She says, we come to realize that the old ways of doing things need an update and that we're now standing on the threshold of something new and different. But before we get there, with 5 planets retrograde and 7 planets, including the sun and the moon in the last degrees of their signs, we're compelled to face our past. That's a really good description of everything we've been talking about, actually, is that all this stuff of the past, we're sort of seeing, we're checking in on it, we're seeing what we hid or what was raw or what was under the band-aid, and then we're going to bring it into the light and move forward. Yeah, I like that. Let's face our past, guys. Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it, is another quote she shares here. Without our history, we have no context for where we are now. Absolutely true. 7 planets in the late degrees of their signs and 5 of these retrograde, all reminding us the past is important, who we were and who we now are, what motivates and moves us. All that without our past, we have no present and will have no future. A little bit. We're tasked with making sense of the present by remembering, exploring, processing, and shining a light on past events that are relevant to our present and our future. Nothing is sacred in the sign of Scorpio, sign of birth, death, and rebirth, and all things taboo: sexuality, scandal, mental illness, the abuse and negligence of too much power and corruption. Nothing is off the table. Change, she says, is imminent. But first, we are needing to tie up loose ends of the past, release what is getting in the way of our ability to be open to the changes that are being seeded here within the new moon. And what I was just hearing too from my guidance was what's being seeded here for the new earth. And I know a lot of people really don't like that term, but all it means is the future we're creating for ourselves that will be wildly different from the past. So you don't have to get too deep into that. It's just, it is different. It is new. Do not be afraid to look in the dark places, she says. The workers in the water and earth signs are distilling, purifying, processing, and making sense of what was so that we'll be able to make better choices in the future. So that's pretty fun. She also says new moons are times of new beginnings, and accompanied by the exact sextile between Uranus and Neptune, we're not just compelled to revisit the past, but are being given a glimpse of the possibilities that await us in the future. Combined with the almost exact trine between Jupiter and Saturn, this moon is also about creating a plan for the future. She asks, what can you do to improve your current circumstances? Where do you want to grow? What is standing in your way? Where have you been limiting yourself with old assumptions and rules that are no longer relevant for where you are now? This is about seeking understanding and trying to find our way, our position in these extraordinary and unpredictable, changeable times. And I'll just pause and add here, these times really aren't any more extraordinary than any other. They're really not less predictable than any other. All times are like this, but we get these feelings, I believe, when we're in these exact moments where what we're actually doing is looking back and we're just seeing how different the future looks from where we've been. It is definitely true that life is never predictable. And I think it's a fallacy of our desire for the past, of this like whitewashing of the past that we tend to do, of like the feeling of nostalgia. I think it's a fallacy of those aspects of ourselves that we look back and we think that it was more predictable in the past. When we were living through it, I don't think we felt that it was so predictable. And the only times it might have felt predictable were actually times when we were in delusion or illusion, right? When we thought, oh yeah, it's all like this, it's like this, it's like this, it's like this. And then we were all of a sudden stopped one day and we were like, oh my God, it's not like that. Oh, and it was maybe never like that. And then we're like, well, wow, everything's so unpredictable. What it actually always was. We just didn't know it. We didn't stop to recognize it or think about it. So I don't think these times actually are any different, except that, yeah, the future is going to be radically different than the past has been. We also go through those sort of industrial revolutions and these big transformations of human society and culture. And that's definitely happening. But as far as unpredictability and whether it's extraordinary or not, I feel like every day is extraordinarily unpredictable, and it always has been, and it always will be. So, she also says, I'll just share a few more things before we move on here, which says the new moon in Scorpio encourages us to make promises to ourselves, to create better habits, to make a commitment, to even transform our own lives. Some positive ways to use the new moon in Scorpio next Wednesday or Thursday, that's today and tomorrow if you're listening to this, depend on where you are in the world, and might be transforming a habit or pattern of behavior that's been holding you back or preventing you from growing. If there's one thing that you might want to change in yourself or your life, what might it be? And so it's so interesting to me too, because I've confronted this so many times, but I have this phobia of moths, and it's connected to trauma, really deep trauma. When you have PTSD or CPTSD like me, you quite often, if not almost always, have a phobia as well. And it's usually connected. Sometimes it's connected directly to like a or many of the deeply traumatic experiences you had. Sometimes it's very loosely connected. Mine's very loosely connected. And it totally makes sense to me the more I've explored it throughout my life. But it's just moths. It's just moths. Moths were never there in any of the moments I was deeply traumatized. That's just what came out of it. And it kind of makes sense to me. I've been exploring it more and more, but it would be really, really neat to not just totally lose all composure and ability to control myself when a moth is nearby. It'd be awesome. So, so that's my thing here, right? And it's hard. It's really hard. I mean, like talking about and, looking at still images of moths is like pretty easy. As soon as I'm looking at a video of a moth, I feel it already just telling you about it. Like I have a tenseness that starts in my belly and then it ends up moving through my whole body. And now my mind is wrapped up in it. And if anything happens during that moment, even if it's not a moth, but if it seems to be coming at me, like I'll still freak out. So even just thinking about it is enough to sort of start triggering the response. So it's rough. And it's very much like this Scorpio, new moon energy. Like, I don't really want to look at it. I don't really want to be that uncomfortable. But I also know that to move through it, I actually have to be that uncomfortable. I actually have to get uncomfortable, bring comfort into the discomfort, become sort of comfortable with the uncomfortability, and then continue to move towards it and towards it and towards it and towards it until I'm all the way in it, and then I can move through it. And I know that's possible, but man, I'd rather not do it. And that's not even true, right? But the resistance in me is so strong that it feels that way. The truth is, what I will have gained by moving through that is priceless, right? My whole life will change, actually. So very actually excited to do that work. My body's telling me that's not true, but I know it's true. My soul's telling me that's true. So this is very, very much aligned with everything we're talking about here with this energy of this astrological moment. And you may think like, well, you've been talking about that. If you've known me for years, you've been listening to the show for years, you know that I've talked about it and been working on it for a while. But it's come up in specific focus and clarity in the recent literally week. So I'm actually planning, I'll share this with you. I'm planning on going to the Butterfly Pavilion. Butterflies are not moths, I know, but they're so similar, and there's such a high probability that one is going to come towards my face that it'll be a really excellent way to sort of slowly expose myself more and more and bring comfort into this deeply uncomfortable situation. And that'll be great. I know I won't kill a butterfly. So a butterfly is very different in my mind. Doesn't make sense. It's not rational. None of it is rational. But, so that's my plan for confronting this, right? So I need this blessing tomorrow. I need the grace and to find the gratitude in this deep discomfort and this deep alchemic process I'm going to push myself through, right? So another thing she says to bring into this moment and to use this moment positively for yourself, she says, say no to more negative influences. This moon is about cultivating those things, alliances, and experiences that feed your mind, body, and soul rather than depleting it. Hey, that's also this blessing tomorrow. So if you're called to come to it, you'll get plenty of that. She says, make commitments to plan for self-improvement. In what ways are you waiting to be healthier, stronger, more fit, and happier version of yourself? There you go. That's also the blessing tomorrow. So it sounds to me like you just need to come to the blessing tomorrow. Best time to make intentions or affirmations with the new moon would be during the new moon phase. So that's exactly tomorrow as well. Another good reason to come to the blessing. She says, Scorpio is a sign of transformational change. Some of the themes of this moon can have to do with overcoming self-limiting narratives and beliefs, healing deep wounds from the past, and learning how to use our own power, position, and resources in positive and constructive ways. And so here's some positive affirmations. So I love it. This is how she ends the article. And again, this is astrologybyLauren.com. She says, out of the ashes of the past, I have the ability to create a better and more meaningful future. That feels good. I like that. When I embrace my own power, I become an instrument for positive change in the world and in my own life. Yeah. I am endowed with the magical ability to transform problems into happiness. So cool. I am profound and have depths of potential as yet unrealized. I want to see myself purifying and releasing those things that are no longer necessary and are keeping me from growing. I am powerful and capable of taking on even the most daunting of challenges. I mean, that's actually just the list of affirmations I need in order to move into this and dissolve this phobia. So it's perfect for me. I'm keeping that one open so I can come back to it. You can go find that as well. Again, astrologybyLauren.com. And if you want to come to the blessing tomorrow, you can go to the site, roguesoul.org. You can go then to schedule a session, schedule 101, or whichever button or link or a drop-down menu you find that says that. It'll bring you right to the page you're looking at here. You can also just type in calendly.com/rogueways, as in pathways, rogueways, and you'll see this here. And you can also, like I said, go to that Substack, substack.com/rogueways, and click on what is likely going to be the first post that you see there about gratitude. And so here you see it at the top, New Moon Gratitude Meditation and Blessing. You'll just click on that. There's only one time you can pick because it is tomorrow, or if you're listening to this on Thursday, it's today, it's tonight. It is at... Let's click on it and find out. For me, 6 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Mountain, 8 p.m. Eastern. It will show you in your time zone, so you won't be confused about what time. And so you might think, oh, I'm busy at that time, or I can't be there at that time. You can still book this, and you will get the link to the recording after we're done. And I'm literally right after we're done. I send that out every time. It's only for people who registered. No one else is going to see it. You can always come with your camera on or off. It doesn't matter. That's up to you if you are live. So you're never going to be on a video, that you don't want to be on. It doesn't, and again, only the people who register ever see it. I leave these available for at least 3 days, sometimes as much as 7, but I wouldn't count on that. But it's just there for you. If you were live, you can kind of dive back into it. You only receive the blessing once, but you can get back into that meditative hypnotic state that I help you get into so that you receive even more deeply. And you can kind of resonate with the vibration of that blessing, even if you already received it. Or like I said, if you're not able to come live, you can check in with it and you get it just as clearly as if you were there live. There is no difference. Spirit knows no time or space because it's not material. Only matter and only us in our material form experience time and space. So no, those aren't real things that exist otherwise. So spirit knows no bounds. You do not have to be there live to receive it. And so feel free to sign up either way. I almost every time get an email from someone who says, I didn't receive it. You did receive it. I did send the email. It often goes to people's spam, junk, or even straight to trash. So if you ever think you're not getting an email from me, it could be, but I am pretty ridiculously prompt and I'm incredibly organized. So it's very unlikely. It is much more likely. And it happens even if you and I email back and forth directly, it will still send some of my emails to your spam, your junk, or your trash. So it's crazy. Doesn't make sense. It's another one of those things that just seems like there's some things that don't want you to have a blessing or don't want you to connect with me. And, we can do our best to go around those things and get it done anyway. So always check, always check, always check. And really, in 2025, I would say you should be checking your trash, your junk, and your spam anyway, because this probably happens to a lot more people than just me. And, it won't happen to the big guys, but it'll probably happen to a lot of us little medium people, right? So always check, always check. But yeah, that's tomorrow. That's how you can get to it. I hope you join us. And it's always profound. It's always beautiful. People always receive often much more than they expected. If you've done it before, you already know all of that. I don't need to tell you. And if you haven't, I think you'll be amazed. Most people are pretty impressed. A lot of people think, well, I can't really meditate, or I don't really get hypnotized, or I don't really go deep, or I don't really feel anything when people are doing spiritual stuff. And that's a very normal thing that people say. And every time someone feels that way and they come to a blessing or meditation with me, they're like, whoa, I've never gone that deep. I've never experienced something like that. I'm like, I'm not bragging. I'm just telling you, I hear this enough to take it as like, yeah, that's meaningful. So if you feel drawn, if you feel called, if you want that dose of gratitude and grace to help move you through some of this confrontation of the past, some of the deep wounds, some of the darkness that might be right under the surface, you've got the support waiting for you. So go check it out. Book your spot and come with us. You won't regret it, that's for sure. And I hope to see you there. Until then, travel well, aim for balance, and always look inside first. Mwah.
Glued to these screens, it's a plot to drop the IQ. Fighting amongst each other over rumors that don't like you. Prefer us trapped in melancholy with the wood ones, a holly suggestions that obliterate to camouflage the folly. Attempted mental robbery, executed sloppily. The hypocrisy, this mockery, and walk the talk with me. Put the hands up to touch the Akasha, cause you know deep down there's something bigger than your wallet.